was as I sat amongst these ruins of my prospects that I heard a voice. It was strange to pick out just one single voice among the echoes of choruses, and yet my ears found melody all of its own. It was heightened in pitch and a little out of tune, but the voice sang a slow and mournful melody that stirred something deep within my heart. It had a clear direction, like the invisible beckoning of a tender hand, and I got to my feet with its warbling notes ringing in my mind. This time, walking through the crowd was like pushing past a rainstorm. My vision was obscured by blurred faces of the skeleton people as they seemed to race past my glance, my weary legs carrying me faster and more determinedly than I'd have predicted. As I pressed on across the square, through the masses and down alleys and gullies that became increasingly devoid of people, I found the beckoning voice was suddenly the only thing I could hear. It deafened even the thundering pace of my feet as I found my destination, the place where the singing suddenly stopped. I had never really considered that there might be a class system amongst other societies other than my own, but now that I had reached the back reaches of this village, I had evidence to confirm it. The house that sat before me was barely taller than I was, and indeed it could hardly be called a house when there were so many words more befitting. Shack, shanty, shed. All three were apt to describe this dwelling, whose walls were leaning together without any sign of fixtures, and whose roof consisted of large sheets of thin metal that had been bolted together rather roughly. Through the great holes where some of the bolts had come loose, I saw a thin line of white smoke escaping from the hut's interior. I went in. It was not proper to enter the house of a stranger, however desperate my needs, but I felt that I was welcome in this place. The roof had trapped a great deal of the evening heat in the smoky little space, and I instantly felt heavier, as though the ordeal of the storm had finally caught up with my body. The interior of the home was tiny, and it did not take me long to find the person who had sung to me. It now struck me that her voice could not possibly have carried all the way from that town square, for the girl I beheld was young and slim from the starvation of poverty. She was alone, kneeling at a small table bedecked with a variety of ornaments. 7 candles of different shapes and heights burned amongst various pictures, cuttings of flowers, tiny scraps of food. The essence of fresh-baked bread filled my senses, leaving a sweet taste of sugar on my tongue. As I opened my mouth to envelop another blast of this sweet-baked scent, the girl at her makeshift shrine turned on one knee. Her dark hair swung like a curtain of night, revealing yet another face painted with a black and white tableau of the skeleton. There was something different about the way she had painted her face, and it took us both a long moment of staring at one another to figure out what it was. The girl's face was a blank, as though she was thoroughly unsurprised to see me, a stranger, standing in her home. But her decorated expression was far more morose. Beneath her black-ringed eyes, 2 great teardrops had been drawn in mid-cascade, and her lips were blackened, but with a downward turn at each corner. Her eyes did not shine with the glow of candle flame either, and I soon understood the reason why. The white smoke that surrounded this girl was inside her eyes too, coating them in thick, pale blindness. "I'm sorry," I said immediately. "Forgive me. I should go. You're not fit to aid me." You are the sky pilot." Her voice was as sweet as the scraps of sugary bread. I felt the tension as she waited for my answer, and once again I was swept up in the dizzying warmth of her shrine. "Yes." It was all I could reply. You must rest, weary one. You have a greater journey to make in the morrow. Thoughts of Tesla bolstered my spirit, and I nodded eagerly, though the girl could not see me do it. She had stepped aside to reveal a collection of blankets at the foot of the shrine, which looked as though a makeshift bed had already been prepared for me. In my desperate need for rest, I rushed straight for the comfort, hunkering down on the floor to ease my still, damp bones. It wasn't right that I should still feel so damp, so shivery, despite the clammy heat of this little hut. In fact, several things were not right at that moment of time. I say, I said to the blind girl, struggling to keep my eyes open, how is it that you speak English? She came to kneel at my side and began to transfer the candles and ornaments from the shrine to rest just in front of my face. Despite the downward turn of her painted lips, I was close enough to see this small, morose smile that broke through the melancholy mask. I don't, she replied. The bread rested closest to my nose, and once again I inhaled its sweet essence. Must have been quite some time since I'd last eaten, but I felt no compulsion to do anything other than breathe in the sugary smell. As the candles gently flickered over my half-closed eyes, the girl transported one of the photographs to the floor before me. In her blindness, she had placed it facing downwards, and I reached out with a heavy, sleepy hand to turn it over. Egads, I began, my eyes widening once more over this picture. Where did you find this? It's from my papers. It was my photograph, provided for my ballooning passport so that I might enter the Americas without interrogation. I looked at my fine, healthy face on that small scrap of paper, and suddenly I felt as though I was looking at someone other than myself. It came to me, the girl said, her voice little more than a whisper. The villagers, they don't believe me, but this happens every year. When someone like you lands in the church, the pictures come to my shrine, and I know that their owners will follow. The chill in my bones was not soothed by the soft blankets on which I lay. I had no hunger. No one but this blind girl had recognized or even acknowledged me all evening long. Memories of the storm raced through my mind once again. Suddenly I saw lightning flash over the spire at the church as it fast approached my vision. I had been aboard my ship when it crashed, and I was left with only one conclusion as to what must have happened after. Tell me, girl, I said with a trembling lip. The festival in the village tonight, does it have a name? She nodded, her jet black hair falling to frame her painted face. The skeleton's lips shifted to reveal the name, and for the first time I realized the words the girl was speaking were not the words I heard. Her lips read Dia de los Muertos in her native Spanish tongue. But the words I heard carried on the smoky air, as if translated by a force ever present, yet completely unknown. The Day of the Dead. My eyes began to flutter closed once more, falling upon the sight of my own photograph, encased within the shrine for a few brief seconds. The journey I would make in the morning would take me far further than the likes of Nikola Tesla. And though I feared it gravely, there was a kind of comfort in the candle flames as they settled my body into a spiritless slumber. Hey everybody, it's your King of Stories here, Mr. Breakdown. Thanking you so much for watching the second half of the Sky Pilot. If you've watched the second half without watching the first half, I don't know why you would do that, but these things happen because the algorithm delivers things to us in strange ways. I will make sure that we're linked to part 1 here so that you can follow along, as well as, of course, being linked to a whole fantastic playlist of Drag King horror story time that we're building up week by week over the next few months as we carry on a little storytelling adventure. If you enjoyed this and you enjoyed this like piratical look in general with all the weird scarification and stuff going on, I created this look live on Twitch. Weird things happen over at Twitch that are a lot less professional than what you're seeing here on YouTube. So if you want to be behind the scenes on the chaos, that's really where you need to be. Speaking of behind the scenes, you could of course follow my Patreon, where you're going to find lots of exclusive videos, especially stuff like concerts that I'm doing, like live music shows online. There's going to be a whole archive of those, behind the scenes footage, extra photo shoots from different things if you want to see stuff, interactive polls, things where you can talk to me about my drag and like find out a bit more about what I'm doing. And obviously your patronage means the absolute world, because it means that I can keep doing things like this and bringing entertainment to you on YouTube for free. So yeah, if you're able to support, that's wonderful. If you're not and you're here, then the best thing you can do obviously is to like, comment and subscribe. The holy trinity for anybody trying to make it in a social media world on a digital entertainment platform. Anyway, you know all that, you know what to do. I'm going to be back next week with another brand new story, MBD style, and I hope I'll see you there. Bye.